Mrs. Elba,
Here.
Mrs. Gator,
Here.
Mrs. Moomin,
Here.
Miss Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Freeman. Here.
Will everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Next on our board agenda is the approval of the agenda. Board members, have you had a chance to review this agenda for tonight?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Is there any questions, changes, errors in this agenda, board members?
No, sir. No, sir.
Superintendent Jolly, have you reviewed this agenda?
Yes, sir.
Is there any changes, any add-ons?
No.
Dr. Rock, have you reviewed this agenda and made sure that this district has the funds to facilitate all that's on this agenda tonight?
Yes.
I would need a motion to approve the agenda for October 12, 2017 work session. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the agenda for today's meeting, Thursday, October 12, 2017, working session board meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Mumin. Is there any discussion about this agenda, board members? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is our presentation for our Business Affairs Manager, Dave Boyer. Dave, would you come to the mic? And board members, he actually gave us a copy of his PowerPoint. It should be in front of you, the facility usage and scheduling. If you can, just state your name and your position with the district. Mr. Boyer.
Dave Boyer, and I'm the Director of Business Affairs for the district. President Freeman, members of the board, Superintendent Jolly. Shortly after I started here, one of the things that I was asked to take on in pretty short order was the facility use situation in the district. And not unlike every other district I've been in, what I found in looking at it was that we have a policy that the board has approved. We have a fee schedule that the board has approved. And where we run into challenges in every district I've ever worked with is in the application of that fee schedule and the people that we allow to use our facilities. So one of the things that I decided that I needed to do right off the bat was take a look at that and see if the fee schedule was in line with what we're paying for custodial services and for what we should be charging for rent. And what I found was that in large part, there we go. The board policy states that the board believes that the school premises should be available for use by the community. I'm not going to read every detail of the policy, and this isn't all inclusive of the policy. In your package, you do have a copy of the full policy, but I just took excerpts that I thought were relevant out of that. But the premises, the board believes that the premises should be available to the community for community purposes, as long as it doesn't infringe on the regular use of the schools for education. That largely means that, we're allowing the community, or members of the community, to use our facilities after hours or on weekends, and on occasion during the day for specific things. The board, it says that the board will permit the use of the premises when such permission has been requested in writing by a responsible organization or a group of at least 7 citizens, okay, and gives the superintendent the approval authority. Then it goes on to list the different types of things that the district will allow people to do in their buildings. Letter H here is the one where we get into some gray area as to what we allow people to use our facilities for. It says community organizations or groups of individuals primarily comprised of district residents, members of the community, including students and employees, formed or gathered for charitable, civic, social, religious, recreational, and/or educational purposes, provided such meetings and/or entertainment is not non-exclusive and open to the public. This is the form that we use to lease our facilities. You can see it's pretty extensive. It's kind of hard to read up on the screen. You have a copy of it in your packet there. I'm looking to make a few changes to that. I haven't made those yet, just to simplify it a little bit, because and you'll see here a little bit further along in my presentation, that we're going to be going to using online. We're going to automate this process, okay?
Okay.
What you see up on the screen now, this is our fee schedule, and this is where things get fuzzy. Group one's real easy. That's school-related organizations, people directly involved with our district, PTOs, the boosters, our own principals that do whatever kind of events after hours, those kinds of things. Those are easy, they don't get charged. Rarely even when they have to have a custodian on a Saturday or whatnot, depending on what it is, they don't get charged. Unless they're charging admission or something, then we may try to recoup the actual cost of the custodian. Group 2 and 3 are where you get into a little bit muddier water, because everybody knows somebody, everybody's a taxpayer, everybody wants their fees waived, no matter what it is, okay? And it's one thing in Group 2, if they're using it in the evening after school, and when there's custodians already on duty, we recognize that we're paying those gentlemen, or those folks anyways, not just gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we're paying them anyways, they're there anyways. So we allow the use of it without necessarily having to pay. There are times that we do ask people to pay, especially if they're charging admission for something, and it's going to take additional cleanup. So if a group's coming in there, it's one thing to have the men's basketball, for example, that brings 15 guys in to play basketball and they're only in the gym. They don't really make much of a mess. Versus perhaps a church organization that comes in and has 200 people there for a service, and they're serving food and everything else. We may need additional custodial help. We ask them to help cover those costs. For everything that we do in this district, we have hard costs and we have soft costs. Okay, hard costs are the custodians, the use of our equipment, the wear and tear on the facilities, those kinds of things. The things that are soft costs are the electricity. Those are the things that are hard to delineate down to that group, how much electricity that group uses. Or, okay, the lights and power are running anyways. In the wintertime, the heat's running. You know, we're not as automated as I'd like us to be, but hopefully someday we'll be there where we won't be running that stuff after hours. But for now, we're dealing with what we're dealing with. So there are costs for, no matter what kind of group it is, there are costs that the district incurs. And I always try to frame it in the context that every time we waive fees for somebody, we are essentially donating to that group or organization with taxpayer dollars. So we have to be very, very careful of that and very mindful of it. Because a group that I support and would be more than happy to help cover their costs, my next door neighbor might not. So we always have to think about things that way. When you get down to the Group 3, that's where we get into the fee schedule on the far right-hand side of the chart here. And this is where we get our most conflict of what we're charging people. There's not consistency in it. Different organizations come in and they'll claim to be nonprofits, for example. And then you ask them for their yeah, we ask them for their paperwork and they don't have it, okay? Or we look them up online and we find out that they're not really not-for-profit. They think they are. And I don't think that they're necessarily trying to deceive anybody. I really think that they probably think that they are considered nonprofit. But there's actually a process you go through to become a nonprofit. You have to be able to provide a tax ID number, okay, and a tax exempt certificate. And so we have to, you know, that takes time for us to look into those things. There's costs involved in processing all of this. We have custodial fees. And we're not heavy-handed in this district with custodial staff. So to think that anybody can go into our district, even when the custodians are on duty, and not disrupt their work is just not, is quite frankly naive. Okay, it does disrupt their work. It does take them away from what they're, whether it's go to unlock a door, whether it's to chase a kid down the hallway that somebody's not watching. There's all sorts of conditions that we get into with that. But again, the other groups, we determined that we're going to put up with that and we're going to absorb that cost because it directly benefits the district. But when we get into Groups 2 and Groups 3, it gets a little bit muddier. okay, and Group 3 especially, and everybody wants their fees waived. So my suggestion and my recommendation, and I'll be coming back with a form for you to approve later on, is to develop a form that waives, that has the board approving the waiver of fees. So if I'm a group and I want to come in and I want to have a carnival at John Dewey on this Sunday, okay, or 3 Sundays from now, whatever, and I don't think I should have to pay because all the kids are from Warrensville Heights, I swear, and, you know, I'm a taxpayer, and, see, I know Mr. Jolly. Me and him went to school together. Never mind that we didn't like each other when we went to school, but we knew each other, okay? So I want my fees waived. Well, right now, we don't have a method by which to get that approved. And really what they're asking me to do, in my department, or Mr. Jolly to do, is to deviate from board policy. It's not in my place to assume that the board would agree to that, okay, as a whole. So I'm developing a form that will be filled out. It's a draft of it is attached here. And you also have a full-size draft of it in your packets as well. It'll be automated. They'll be able to fill it out online or print it and do it by hand. And it basically asks them to identify who they are, what the status of their organization is, how much the fees are because when I do the form, I put on there what the expected fees are going to be. So they can take that and they say, okay, well, we just want the rental fees waived. That's okay. They can ask for just the rental fees. They can ask for all of it to be waived. There's a spot on there for them to explain to us why they feel like they should have their fees waived, whatever their reason is, okay? And then it will come to the board, and the board will decide whether or not the fees should be waived, whether they want to step outside of board policy, whether it's because this organization contributes to the district, as many do, or if it just because you feel for them, it's a special thing or whatever, whatever the reasons are. It doesn't even matter to me what the reasons are that the board decides to waive the fees. But it's not our place to decide that we're going to go against board policy, and we think that the board should be making that decision. It also curtails, and you'll find this, that it'll curtail a lot of organizations even asking, because it's one thing to come and whisper in my ear or go to Mr. Jolly and ask for the fees to be waived, or put a bug in somebody else's ear to hey, can we get our, slide the fees under the table. It's another thing for them to have to send something to you guys and have you formally act on it, okay? So you'll see that we'll see a lot less of that. But I still think it's an important thing for us to do as far as getting this under control, okay? I talked a minute ago about how we're going to change this form by automating it. And we can go to the next slide. Dude Solutions, School Dude, Facility Dude. It's an organization that has developed a software suite to help districts manage all sorts of things, but one of the things that they do very well is facilities management, okay? And they make the booking, setting up, and using of school facilities for events and field trips simple and streamlined, okay? So it even takes care of field trips. It meshes with their work order software, so if there's work orders that need to be issued for chairs to be moved, tables to be set up, heat to be on, lights to be on, doors to be open, whatever it happens to be, it will mesh with that, so down the road we'll be looking at going to that as well. It'll also help us maintain our new buildings as we build them and get into them. So I'm very familiar with this company and this solution. I've used it in 3 school districts that I've been in so far, and I've helped probably a half a dozen schools implement it over the years. And it's a good program. It's a good company. They're solid. They've been around for a long time. And I didn't realize it, but we already had a subscription to it. Okay, Mr. Folkman had started down this path over a year ago, and just it never came to fruition. So I'm going to finish what he started, and I'm going to bring this to fruition. It'll help us invoice. Just the whole process is automated. It's all done online through email. There's an email approval process, so it's going to limit the paper. Yeah, you can always print stuff if you need to, but you shouldn't have to. Everybody's got email. Everybody has computers these days. You can even get them on your phone, so it's going to speed up the approval process tremendously. We don't have to worry about people getting things in interoffice mail and things getting lost or shuffled around. They'll all be right there. on to the next one, John. So what it does is it automates the facility scheduling process for internal and external groups. It maximizes facility usage and energy efficiency with strategic room scheduling. It'll eliminate scheduling conflicts and saves more than 10 minutes per event with the centralized events calendar. So we'll be able to go online and pull up a calendar and see, you know, you ever find yourself wondering what's going on in the district this weekend, or you drive by one of the schools and there's a bunch of cars there and you're like, geez, I don't remember there's anything going on there. This will streamline that and make it so that everybody can see it. Okay, it'll streamline the invoicing and improve communication through online payments and saving, and they claim that they can save the district $1.80 per student. Okay, so we're looking forward to that. I have a short video to show you here, and then we'll talk about the implementation process, which is really quite painless.
In 1999, School Dude revolutionized educational facilities management with the first ever 100% cloud-based software as a service maintenance management solution designed specifically for the needs of education. Today, we're doing it again with our new collaborative event management platform, Event Essentials Pro. Combining more than 15 years of School Dude knowledge and experience from more than 6,000 clients, the platform helps you process requests, collaborate, continuously improve, and communicate more effectively and efficiently while saving time and money. Facility event management and community use scheduling features simplified scheduling, invoicing, risk assessment, and communication related to your events. Save 10 minutes per event by automating communication and publication through calendar integration, and improve collections by 10% with online payments. Save time, money, and hassles by bringing trusted vendors and partners into your event management process through ecosystem partner collaboration. Collaborate with peers through the education industry's only dedicated operations management online community of subject matter experts. Use our resource library to discover templates, guides, and other tools to make your job easier and save you time. Uncover opportunities to maximize your institution's operations with a dedicated best practices coach. Define and understand your KPIs by drilling down into historical trends, comparing your results with other schools nationwide, and implementing continuous improvement strategies. And automatically generate PowerPoints that let you share KPIs with your board or leadership. Visit schooldude.com to learn more about what Event Essentials Pro can do for your education institution.
So as you can see, what we're starting with here is just the tip of the iceberg of what Dude Solutions offers. And it all integrates together. So I think this is a good place to start for us, given the challenges that we have around facility usage. We have a lot of demand from our community and our surrounding communities to use our facilities. And, you know, it's not always clear exactly where they fall in the scheme of things. I think this is going to help to streamline that. It's going to help improve communication with the community and to, you know, make us more effective in allowing our community access to our buildings. So I ask that you take a look at the material that I've given you tonight. I will be coming back to you, as I said, with some approvals of the forms and possibly some policy recommendations for policy changes as we need to. And we're going to start the implementation process. As you can see up here, the implementation process is pretty straightforward, and it shouldn't take us more than probably 30 days total. I know they got 30 minutes and 15 days and all that. Trust me, it'll take about 30 days or so, just given our workload and our schedules, to get this implemented. But this is probably one of the easiest, most straightforward implementations that the Dude Solutions has, so it's a good place for us to start. It starts out with a 30-minute kickoff phone meeting where they tell us what information they need from us. We pull that information together, we get it back to them in 10 to 15 days, and they input all of the data, and they build the system, and then the rest of it is training, and then the rollout of it. And it's really that simple. And we'll put it up. It'll be available online for, just like our form is now. They'll go on there and click on a link online, and it'll come up, and you'll fill out the online form, and it'll go through its process. The approval process will all be set up, and so be able to communicate very quickly what it's going to cost. All the costs will be plugged into the system so that there's no, you know, trying to guess how much we charge for this or that, or what we did last year. This will all be brand new. So everything in the past will be in the past, and we're going to move forward into the future. Any questions?
Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Boyer?
I have a few.
Go right ahead.
First one is, this is my opinion. I don't really believe that the board should be this hands-on as far as approving anything. That's why we hire a superintendent and a business manager to handle it. That's just my opinion. I'm only one vote out of 5. I think that's whatever is set up in the policy is what should be done. Because my opinion, again, when you start bringing different people's things to the board meeting, we only meet twice a month, if there's stuff falls in between there, then you have a whole nother issue of somebody trying to make a decision, and then they come to a board meeting. Who's to determine, or how do you even determine, well, you're not gonna be charged a fee, but you're gonna be charged a fee, then the next person, well, why didn't they get charged a fee and all of that? I think that becomes way too much on a board, because we have so much other stuff to do, but that's just my opinion. I do have a question though. What is the expected turnaround time? If John Doe came in here to complete the paperwork and everything, what is the expected turnaround time that John Doe is gonna know if they're approved or not?
The turnaround time for John Doe to know whether or not he's been approved for facility use, okay, just on its surface, without a waiver, is gonna be days instead of weeks. Right now, the process can take as much as a week or more because of the paper trail. That part will be streamlined. The part that's gonna take more time is if somebody wants their fees waived, they're gonna need to plan further ahead because of where the board meetings fall. I would expect that, the form would be submitted, depending on when it's submitted in relation to the next board meeting. We would get it on the agenda, and then it would be approved. And perhaps there would need to be a provisional approval process or a way to do that, to give them provisional approval, or have them pay after the fact, or something. I will have to figure that out. Because I do see your point, that it could take a month or more for them to get it in front of the board, especially in the months that we only have one meeting. If they don't meet the timeline to get on the agenda, now they're waiting another month, and their event may be 3 weeks from now. So we need to figure out a way to address that, and I think we can tackle that challenge. But, I still think, that, and I respect your opinion on that, and if that's the wishes of the entire board, then we'll certainly go that direction and we'll make the decision. But that same dilemma is what we're faced with every time these people come in and say that they want their fees waived, is who do you waive them for and who don't you? And, it always seems like somebody has a compelling argument or what have you, and in my world, I believe in the policy. I agree with you. The policy should be implemented, no wiggle room. I'm a black and white guy, okay? It's this way, that's what's written, that's what's been voted on, that's what's been approved, that's what I'm gonna do, okay?
Because you have invested the power in me to override the will of the board, and that's what the board policy is. Unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of a world or that kind of a community.
And special argument, and so we find ourselves stuck between trying to figure out, okay, do we waive this group, do we not waive that group? And, I don't feel comfortable waiving board policy, okay? So that's where I'm coming from at this juncture, for me.
Another question?
And then, yeah, I do. Can you forward me a copy, please, of this, is this the current one, or is this the new one?
That's the most recent.
Okay, because when this was created in 2010, it did include on it the Muni League people.
It was revised, I'm sorry, in 2015.
Okay, and that's why I'm asking, because the Muni League people, we all have heard them. They have all been to these board meetings. How do you determine on here why you have some little leagues on here and you don't have them? They're all one and the same set of kids. So if this was revised by the board, then as a board, we need to revisit this, because we can't start picking people off and picking kids on, and they're all the same kids. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other board members have
I am.
Go ahead.
Yeah, comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Mitchell.
Actually, I want some clarity, because my understanding of the role of a school board member. Now, I can understand that we need to approve the form, but if Aldergate comes and wanna have an event, I'm thinking it's go, once Mr. Jolly approve it, I don't, the board need to go behind him and approve that.
Okay.
That's his job. Our job is the forms. Is the forms up to date? Is it accurate? If it's covering all the information is there, then we shouldn't have to go over his head and approve something that he should already been approved.
So I want to comment. So I think we can go back and make this more defined. Ms. Elvin made a point about the Muni League teams. So it's very defined. And if it's outside of that parameter of the definition, then we deny the permit if they don't
Right.
part of it. I do want to warn, though, people going to come to the board
On the
meeting
question.
and raise a lot of commotion when they get denied. One of the key things is that they have to have students who go or live in our district, not per se go to our schools, but live in our district. That is something that a lot of groups have problems proving, that the kids live in our district. Now, recently, we've seen some groups that clearly have our students in it. I'll give you an example, the flag football, the John Dewey, with Coach Gray, clearly has our students in the program, and they were able to use the facility. But I just want to put that there, is that one of the strong barometers is that the kid, they have to be Warrensville-centered students. And some of the organizations are not Warrensville-centered. They're in Warrensville, but the majority of the students are not Warrensville residents, not school district students, but residents of the district. And the simple thing is just to bring in addresses and phone numbers and things that sometimes they have not been able to produce those.
Go ahead, Ms. Newman.
So we'll define it clearly and bring it back to the board.
Can I suggest to you that possibly getting the old one as well as this one? Because you don't wanna forget somebody, and then that causes a whole nother thing, since we do have to approve this.
So we'll do that, but I just wanted the board to know we will be denying some that do not fit what the board
Board
approves
policy, right.
when we bring it back to you.
Go ahead, Ms. Newman.
No, that's all I
Okay.
wanted to say.
Thank you.
Who do the approval and Mr. Jolly will be approved.
Vice President Mitchell.
I have two questions. Mr. Boyer, do we know how many people are, currently, do people use hard copy forms? Like, can they go pick them up somewhere, or is everything generated?
No, we have hard copy forms that they can pick up at the board office or at the buildings. I believe they're available at the buildings. They can also print them out online.
So understanding that everybody may not have access to a computer, so if someone needs to do a hard copy, they will still be able to do that. And then once they do the hard copy, will someone in your office then enter okay.
Yes.
Thank you. My second question is back to board policy. If our board policy is clear on who can and cannot participate using, our facilities, who can and cannot be waived, and what the parameters are for waiving, when we update the form, the policy will reflect that as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so I guess my question then, my third one, I'm sorry, back to Ms. Elba's comment, it says inner city sports, it says athletic camps, local basketball, local little league, local youth. I'm not sure what more we're looking for beyond that. I think that's pretty generic as far as including the muni leagues, because at the end of the day, the children that are participating have to be residents of Warrensville.
Yeah, I would, if I was looking at a building use form for them, I would consider them under that group,
Okay.
okay? Because if you get to where you're naming the groups, every year new groups pop up.
Correct.
Okay, so then you're constantly having to update the list. So if we talk about religious organizations, sports teams, local sports teams, community sports teams, however you want to word that, to narrowly define it so that all of them can fit in that. Because you're right, we don't want to get into picking and choosing whether the baseball team gets to use it or the soccer team gets to use it.
Correct.
Okay, just because they're not named on a form.
And
Thank you.
I also want to be clear, like, it's outside of work hours, regardless of the group, we have to charge. So if it's Sunday, or even the football field on Saturdays, Those are outside work hours. Regardless of the group, we have to charge, internal or external. Except for if it's a school football game or something, but.
Member Gator?
Yeah, thank you. So for me, what I would like to ask is, are you guys going to have something set up on the website that clearly states what the process is? So if someone's just surfing our website and they want to know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
All right, great. That might address some of the questions and concerns. You know, for instance, if someone wants to put in a use of facilities form for an event that's 2 weeks away, they might not be able to do it with us if there's
Sure.
not enough time for approval.
Right.
And all that information's available to them. And then what about standard operating procedures? Will you establish something internal? Administrative guidelines, that's what we call them here, the administrative guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will also help to eliminate some of the confusion with what the actual process is. I myself would kind of like to see what you guys end up doing with this. I know that the one from back, prior to it being revised, the reason it was revised is because it was confusing also. So the interim superintendent at the time was the one, and I think Joey might have, did you have something?
We added the football field so that
Yes.
the community league could play on the field, because the football field was not on it, and then we added the football field so they could play games in Warrensville.
All right, so yeah, I think for me, I'd kind of like to see what you put together, before I kind of cut it up and tear it apart, but I would like to recommend that part of the process includes the administrative guidelines. And I thank you.
Also, I'd just like to state, and I know Mr. Jolly has been pulling his hair out about these facilities, and a lot of times, like Mr. Boyer say, the community wants to come and they want to use our facilities for free. But we had a case last year, and I have two of the Warrensville council people that was at that meeting, Andre Mitchell and Matthew Howard, and they used our facility at Eastwood and tore up Andre Mitchell's residence lawn. Tore it up, 3 of them. So they're looking at me at a board meeting, at a council meeting, like, what y'all gonna do about it? Because it sits Eastwood right behind these people's backyard.
Sure.
So when we do lease them out, rent them out, usage, we gotta be careful of Councilwoman Mitchell's residents, that we're tearing up their yard, they're having
Absolutely.
barbecues, they're putting trucks, and, we just gotta be careful. I think when Ms. Gator came to meet with school 2 years ago, I think it's a good process. We wanna be automated. I think that would be good, but the only thing that we need to do, and like my colleague said, it's a policy set, the superintendent has it, but what happens, as I've seen in a year, they try to override a superintendent. Superintendent and me don't know some of the events that happen.
Right.
Like you said, I can drive by a school, I didn't know Randall was even open. Have I called you 10 or 12 times?
Yeah, that 2 years ago, yeah. They
I'm
already-
calling Miss Gator, I'm like, why's all these cars here at this building?
Yeah.
It's on our school district. So I think what it is, people take advantage of it sometimes, like, I used it before, I'm gonna use it again. So I think we need something like this, because as a district, we're losing money, and they're tearing up our facilities to accommodate them.
Absolutely.
And I want to accommodate the community, I love them, but we just got to be careful as a board that we're not too friendly. I know it's the friendly city, but we're not too friendly using out our facilities, and we're not getting none in return as a school district.
I have another question. What is the First Christian Community Baptist Church? Where is that at?
On Emory Road?
East side?
Yeah, they changed the name, you're right, yeah.
And again, we'll revise it. This is the list that was done. We'll revise it to be current
That's
to
fine,
2017.
And I'm sorry, this list that's on here is just examples. There might be a few actual names, but I think that was pretty much done as an example. For instance, churches within the community. So there might be other churches.
Well, we thank you, Mr. Boyer, thank you for your hard work and your staff to do this, and we're waiting to see what you present to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our board agenda is point 3, board policy review. We have a couple I want to go over today, and I gave you guys a copy, and I think Maddie had presented the policy for Neola for 3.1.1 3112, the board staff communication, and 4112. If you don't have it, I do have copies, if you have it, board. And I'll start it, but I want our co-chair policy to go over most of this, Mimi Gator. But, board policy?
I said a co-chair.
Yeah, she's the co-chair of policy.
Oh,
We decided in the organizational meeting on January 5th.
I thought that was a community of the whole. But go ahead, that's okay,
Oh.
go ahead.
Ms. Gator's been handling it for the last 10 months, I know.
Okay.
Board staff communication. The Board of Education desires to maintain open channels of communication between itself and the staff. The basic line of communication will, however, be through the superintendent. It lists the actual A, B, and C of perform our duties as a board member. Ms. Gator, would you want to chime in on that before I?
You want me to review the actual policy?
Yes.
Staff commu-
Yeah,
Okay,
you can,
so,
yep.
Staff communications to board, the way it reads is, communications from staff members to the board or its committee shall be submitted through the superintendent. The superintendent shall forward communications received from staff members to the board. This procedure is not intended to deny any staff member his or her constitutional right of free speech or the right to appeal or otherwise address the board on important matters through established procedures. So I'm just gonna stop with that one, staff communications to the board. And I'll give you an example. If, let's say, a teacher or an employee of the district has a complaint, a lot of times you'll have those individuals to come straight to the board and want to complain about it. So what they're doing is they're not following the proper procedure. So if a staff member has a concern, for them, it would be, let's just assume that it's a concern at the building level. They would need to address their concern with the principal, and from there, if there's still an issue, they could grieve it if it was something that was grievable. And then if the superintendent felt as though it was something that needed to be brought to the board's attention, then it would come to the board. Does anyone want to kind of chime in on that, or have you seen something different?
Well, I just have a question. Why would we create a policy when that can be Mr. Jolly and Dr. Rock's guidelines? I mean,
We're not creating, we're just going over. This is just a
the current
review.
policy
Oh,
now.
We're just,
okay, I thought
we're
you
not
said we
changing
were-
anything.
I thought she said
No, no,
we
no.
were creating this.
So
I'm
I
sorry.
want to clarify
I'm
that
not changing.
the idea is to clarify and to
Oh.
communicate to the community and staff what the expectation is when it comes to communicating with the board. Again, we don't want people, as it states, we don't want to not make ourselves accessible to people, to community members or staff, but we would like for them to go through the proper channels. As a board member, and I recently had someone approach me about something, and I had to tell them, I said, look, I'm not in the buildings on a regular basis. This is not something that I can fix. You have to go through the superintendent or your principal, and that's the proper way to do it. So the other thing I like to let staff members know is if you come to me with something, I have to let the superintendent know. That's the right thing to do. Sometimes people will come to you and say, you know, I just want to tell you what's happening, but I don't want you to say anything. Then I personally am not the board member that you want to come to, because I, as an individual board member, cannot fix that. It has to be addressed either collectively as a board or with the superintendent. So I'll move on to B unless somebody has something else that they want to add to that.
I just have a comment.
Go right
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
I think that all of the staff needs to know that no one board member can fix anything.
Correct.
Well, and I'm saying that because I've been approached by staff and they'll say, well, so-and-so said that if they went to them, then because of this, they can fix it, they in charge. And I have to kindly remind people, as a board, we make a decision. There's 5 of us. No one board member can make any decision for any staff member, any building, anything in this district. And people need to know that, but that also needs to be conveyed by the people that we put in charge. I mean, we can continue to say it, but I don't have a problem with this. I just think that people have to realize that no one board member can fix anything, because I think at one point or another, we have all been approached by staff and whatnot regarding an issue.
Correct. So as far as board communications to staff, it applies the same. All official communications, policies, and directives of the board, of staff interest and concern to the staff will generally be communicated through the superintendent, who shall also keep staff members informed of the board's concerns and actions. So that means that as a board member, I cannot send an email to, say, a parapro or to the principal, dictating what needs to happen. We can communicate with them and ask questions, but at the end of the day, we should not be directing any of the staff members. That includes emails individually or emails to the entire staff. That should always be communicated through the superintendent. So I'll stop there because it's basically going to end up being the same. All communications have to either come through or to the superintendent. Any other questions or comments about item B?
Any questions?
All right, and then the last one just discusses social interaction. Both staff and board members share an interest in the schools and in education generally. It is to be expected that when they interact at social affairs and other functions, they will informally discuss such matters as educational trends, issues, and innovations and general activities of the district. So I'll just kind of stop there. What that means is we can go to you can see all of us at a basketball game, and we can have discussions amongst each other about, like it said, educational trends. What do you think about, the basketball team? But for us to sit there and have discussions about things that we have to vote on, that's a no-no. So, I'll continue. It also says, however, since board members are not authorized to act on behalf of the board unless in an open public session or when specifically vested with such authority, board members and members of the staff should not discuss individual personalities, personnel grievances, or other complaints. Instead, such matters should be addressed in accordance with the procedures established in board policy or the collective bargaining agreement. So I thought it was important that we just kind of put this out there and communicate what the board's expectations are as dictated through policy. And again, in a nutshell, the expectation is that communication should run through the superintendent or treasurer, depending on, if it's a financial matter. And we, as a board, should be letting individuals know that approach us, while we would like to be able to help you, this is something that I need to be able to share with the superintendent. And again, if they don't want to hear that, then they shouldn't be coming to us with concerns.
You said this was already created?
This is on our board
current
books, I'm sorry.
policy now.
I think that it should include treasurer as well, because the treasurer does have their own staff. If we're talking staff communication, board communication, classified, all of that is still exists in that office. So that's
So staff wouldn't be part of the district? You said both staff?
Well, it's because it says through the superintendent. The treasurer's office reports to the treasurer. And I think that if this is a policy that we're creating, it should say superintendent and or treasurer, or superintendent and treasurer.
So can I ask a question? Because we sometimes get into a little back and forth when it comes to hiring individuals in the treasurer's office. I've seen where sometimes those are recommendations that come under the superintendent.
Yes.
Would you clarify that a little bit for me?
Well, usually, all personnel is hired through the superintendent, and usually on your organizational chart, you'll see a dotted line that'll go to the treasurer, but all of the staff still report up to the superintendent. Now, they still report to me, but the way that it's set up in school finance is that the superintendent is in charge of all personnel, but then the reason there's a dotted line is because the board hires a superintendent and treasurer, and they're dual reporting. We both report to the board.
Okay, well,
But then also in your organizational meetings, you set the superintendent as the chief spokesman for the district, and that's how sometimes these things funnel up and they're interpreted that way.
Chief Executive Officer, who's the CEO.
okay.
So,
And
Go ahead.
and I appreciate all of that. However, you really need to look at the contract, because this district just got out of a lawsuit in 2011 of a superintendent trying to discipline someone from the treasurer's office. So if it's going to be changed, then as a board, we need to look at that. I'm not gonna say any more about this, but, I mean, yeah, we go
Yeah,
around and round, but
right.
there was a lawsuit and we
Okay.
lost.
All right.
We lost, so.
So you want to change the policy because of one lawsuit?
No, no, no.
Oh.
What I'm saying is, you're changing the policy just by saying what you just said.
We're not
That's
changing it.
Excuse me, that's just changing the policy in itself right there. I'm saying, let's be educated, let's know what we're actually talking about as we go forward. Not saying that anybody
No, that's fine.
isn't, but I'm.
We're just going over our
putting it
board
out
policy that's on the books now.
there. Okay,
Okay.
that's all I'm gonna
Let's,
say.
and guys, let's just stick with the policy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thank you.
When you lose focus, and we tend to lose focus a lot, even from talking to people, you know, we go out and we meet people and we say certain things that we shouldn't be saying, but we say it because we're human. But the bottom line, it goes back to Mr. Jolly. That's policy. You know, if you read you read the sunshine laws and anything else, it's always gonna tell you to go back to your superintendent. And we keep jumping off that.
Thank you so much. I just think this was a refresher, and I want to thank Ms. Gator for going over this, but it just gives us an insight. And I know as board members, we lose sight of it, so it just brings it back, like it's on our policy, it's the way we operate as a board, and that's our communication. I mean, like Ms. Elba said, none of us can make decisions for the board, so we make it together as a group. We may not agree, but we gonna make a decision, and we gonna keep that motion, and we gonna move forward. But thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Gator?
No.
Can I just make one recommendation of Mr. Jolly? Since we've discussed this here at the board meeting, could you make sure that maybe this policy is sent out, is effectively communicated to your staff? Just to kind of that the board did have a discussion about it, and this was the takeaway.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll send it out tomorrow, and we'll post it.
Thank you. Also, before we get away from our policy, our new policy came in. It's volume 36, number 1. I put it on your desk. I know Ms. Gator have reached out to Joe Siegfried, and he's going to come hopefully on November and do a presentation and go over these, and we can ask him questions on this new batch of policies that came out. There are some administrative guidelines, Mr. Jolly and Dr. Rock, it's like 5 of them, if you could review it and go through it and get it out to your staff to review this, and get with Ms. Gator and Joe, for you guys can sit down and go over the ones that you want to implement into the district. And Ms. Gator, you'll coordinate that with the superintendent?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So take your time and look at this, and if you have any questions, I'm sure Joe can answer. Oh, you didn't get one? Take mine. All right, next on our board agenda is is 4.1, is our strategic plan. I'm jumping. 4.1 is facilities. I'm going to have Dr. Rock lead that real quick. Dr. Rock?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rock.
Wanted to provide an update to the board on the COPS deal. We're really moving along here on the finance end. And this is, again, so we have the COPS deal is the certificates of participation. Segment 1 is for the facilities master plan is our pre-K to 5 building at Warrensville Heights City School District. Everything is in motion on this. I mean, we are weeks away from approval from the OFCC. We're weeks away from going and presenting to investors. We're weeks away from going to get a bond rating and credit enhancement. So that's why I wanted to give you an update on this. And again, the project is the district's gonna come up with 16.3 million, and this OFCC is gonna contribute 8.3 million. So that's why it's key that we have that OFCC approval coming up in a few weeks. based on all of this, the document that I've been working on and spending substantial time on is the preliminary offering circular. It's sort of like a proxy statement if you were gonna invest in a mutual fund. Right now, it's 120 pages. It's probably gonna even get bigger, and it really covers a lot. So I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that are going in there. Of course, we're not gonna cover all 120 pages. It's the primary document, though, that we bring to the bond rating meeting, and we bring it to the credit enhancement. It impacts our bond rating, and the way that our bond rating will impact our interest rate, and credit enhancement impacts our interest rate also. So the higher the bond rating, the lower the interest rate. Credit enhancement can increase the bond rating and further decrease the interest cost. Now, on certificates of participation, and we've had the municipal fund advisor, Mike Priscilla from Cecina and Associates, present this to us. Certificates of participation will trade one layer below what you're rated. So if we're rated at A2, the certificates of participation would rate at A3. So it's always one layer below. The credit enhancement is needed to counteract this. So we can get a credit enhancement and it will bring that rating up one. The good news for the district, well, I think I have it here, Jonathan. Oh. Can you go back one? I just want to make sure I'm at the right. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the good news for the district is, and this is from discussions with the credit enhancement company that is Build America Mutual. There's only 2 of them, like Mike Priscilla said. The good news is they said that we have sound financial management of the general fund with our carryover balance, which is very good news for us. Our historical budget within current resources, we know that. We've been living in 8 years of living within our current resources. In other words, current expenditures were lower than current revenue, which is good, and that builds up your carryover. And they like our conservative approach to the finance budget with the dedicated revenue stream. In other words, we're picking a revenue stream, but we're not picking all of it. In fact, we're using only 50% of it, and they like that. And also the current development growth in the district with the school community, with Highland Hills activity, North Randall, all 3 of the activities with the current growth. That's been good news for us. The challenges is our tax collection rate. Right now, it's hovering at around 74%, and just the year before that, it was at 69. The ODE report card, we're gonna look at that. We have a current event that's with a neighboring school district that we're dealing with right now. They're gonna wanna know information about that. And also, the district must describe the support of the school community, and it's evident. I mean, I see it here. We have a lot of support. So we have to show that in our story. That's our challenge. And if we could show that, that may be a good positive for us to get this rolling. The preliminary offering circular, it's prepared by bond counsel, so there's a lot of legalese in there, but there's still a lot of other information. The primary users are gonna be the bond rating company, the credit enhancement, and then ultimately the investors. So they're gonna read this and decide if they wanna invest in the investment.
Right.
Again, it's $16.3 million, and it looks like it's gonna be sold in $5,000 increments.
Okay.
And it's released like a proxy statement. The preliminary offering circular will include a legal opinion from the bond counsel. It will include all of the details on the financing, how many years, how much are we financing, what's the interest rate, how are the proceeds gonna be used, how is it gonna be paid back. Also, there's gonna be a description of the leased property. That's how a certificate of participation works. We actually, it's like a lease, like we're leased to own. The investors will own the building, we still own the land, and that's where it gets very complicated, but they own the building, we promise to pay them for the next 30 years, and at the end of 30 years, we own the building. And then also the source of payment. They're gonna look at that in depth. Where is that revenue stream coming from? The other things that it talks about is investor risks. the security of the certificates, the appropriation requirements, which we only have to appropriate once a year. So that's why this trades one layer lower, because there's a risk there. But it's a mission-critical project for the business that we are in, which is educating the scholars of the school community. So that looks good because they know we need the building. If we didn't have the building, we wouldn't have nowhere to put our scholars. So that mitigates that. They're gonna look at any litigation that we have and the state funding. It also includes a very in-depth description of the district and programs. Mr. Jolly's been helping with some of those areas, and Dr. Caver. And then, of course, it's peppered with historical financial information, a 5-year forecast, tax collections, audited financial statements. They want to know how many people ride the bus. I mean, it really gets in depth. And it's been a great journey so far in putting this all together. But I know that there's a very strict timeline on this, so whenever they're giving me anything that they request, I'm turning it over fast. Because we need to have this done, and this has to go out to New York before we talk to the bond rating and the credit enhancement company. And then also in there's gonna be a section on the current economical horizon that we have here and the projected horizon. In other words, they're gonna come out and they're gonna take pictures of the casino. They're gonna probably I'm gonna show them pictures of where North Randall, where Amazon's coming in. We'll go up to AB controls, which is real exciting. The roof is on the building now, but they wanna see these things because those are revenue streams for us. And that's part of our story. And finally, right now it's up to 120 pages, so it is really detailed. Very interesting, but it's nice for us to put our story in there, and of course, when it's done, everybody will get a copy. But it's a nice document too at the end, because it shows a snapshot of the school district and the community. So I just wanted to provide an update on that, and that's where we're at.
Or do you have any questions for Treasurer Dr. Rock about the COPS project?
I have a question. Mr. Dr. Rock, you mentioned about presenting to the investors, and I know we talked about this at the last board meeting, but I can't remember, so I need to ask. Who's paying for all these people to go to New York?
Well, first of all, we don't know for sure if we're gonna go, because it depends on the timing.
Okay.
But again, we can pay for our participants, and we will be reimbursed through the general fund when the proceeds come in. We had that board resolution that we passed.
Okay, or you can pay for your own and be reimbursed that way as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's other attendants that are coming from other governmental units, they can handle their own.
If you are reimbursed, what is that turnaround time? Is that months, years?
No, this isn't a personal reimbursement. This would be the school district will pay for our costs for our personnel to go.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
We will pay for it. Then when the proceeds come in, the proceeds will reimburse the general fund, so our operations did not spend any money on it, and it matches the expenditure with the proceeds in the project.
I get that, but my question again is, what is the term? If the district pays $10,000 for whoever to go to New York, when will the district get the $10,000 back?
When the proceeds come in, which would be around January or December.
Okay.
So it's within the same school year.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Dr. Rock?
Just real quick, so, discussions with Build America Credit Enhancement, that is all being rolled into the cost as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's not like we're being billed anything at this point for
No.
working with them?
And the credit enhancement, it's also called bond insurance. So we will pay for that. That will be a cost built into the project, into the proceeds. But by paying for that, it could save us up to $1.5 million in interest cost over the next 30 years. Imagine going to get a mortgage on your house, and when they say, hey, we're gonna lower your interest rate 50 basis points or 25 basis points, which is about the range that that could impact, that really adds up to a lot of money for us.
Okay, and then one final question. The reimbursement that we're referring to happens once this certificate of participation is finalized, correct?
Yes.
So,
Once it's finalized, it's sold, and the proceeds come to us.
all right.
So in
Okay.
other words, we'll have $16.3 million will come into our bank account. We will have that there, and then we can pay the general fund back for any expenditures that it had. We can pay the bond council for their expenses,
Okay.
municipal fund advisor, it's all, and it matches all of that proceeds to the project. In other words, if it's not affecting our general operation money.
Okay. All right,
That's the
thank-
big thing, because other districts, they may, if they didn't do that resolution like we did it, they'd be fronting the money and it wouldn't be reimbursed. So that would just come out of their general operations. But we want the general operations money to be preserved, and we want it to stay to the general operations, which is in the classroom.
Got it. Thank you.
And also with Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, they're gonna, be our partners in this project, the first phase and the second phase. And they have strict guidelines that this district has to follow, and Dr. Rock and, the whole, bond council and, Mike Messina, they all have to follow, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, so.
Yes.
We gotta toe the line on everything that we do, so it's not nothing that this district is doing frivolously, just, we're gonna build a school and we gotta go with them, because they're giving us $8.3 million. So, Dr. Rock's been working, extremely hard on that to facilitate it, to get new schools for our scholars, because we need it. Our schools are outdated, and we just put in air conditioners, so. Moving on, we do have a presentation by our new communication director, Kendra Davis. Could you come on down?
Yeah, I think Mr. Jolly was gonna just give
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
snapshot on owner's rep.
It'll be real short and brief. I just wanted to get a board and community update on the owner's rep. We did receive 6 packages for owner's rep. The facilities committee reviewed them, and we're down to our 2 finalists. Our 2 finalists is a company called PMC, and the other one is called Regency. On October 30th, Monday, October 30th, we'll have final interviews for the 2 firms to make a recommendation to the board for the owner's rep. Also, for architect, we are down to the finalists. That process was that our facilities committee looked at the 9 architects that applied. The state looked at 9 architects, the same 9 architects. We rated our top 3. The state rated their top 3. And then they looked at the totals. The final list for architect, a company called Let's Go, Moody and Nolan, and architect firm called GDP. Those 3 are the finalists. On October 18th, the state will be in the district to review with our facilities committee, the finalists. They just want to go through the finalists. And then I believe on November 16th, will be the interviews for the finalists, where they'll actually come in the district, and all 3 firms will present their present. And then hopefully we will have a recommendation to the board for the December meeting to hire the architect.
Mr. Jolly?
Yes,
what
ma'am.
did you say was the finalist for the owner rep?
Owner's rep is a company called PMC,
PMC? Okay,
and the second one is Regency.
okay.
We have their package that we can share with the board, any board member that would like to see them.
I just have, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr.
Yes, go
President,
ahead.
I just have one quick question. So you said there's gonna be interviews done on November 16th?
Yes,
Those interviews are gonna be conducted by who?
the state and the facilities committee. So the state and us will be together. Everything we do with the owner, with the architect, the state is included. That also happened with the construction manager also. Since it's a co-funded project, anything we do, the state will be in on it, 50%.
So they'll be weighing in on it as well?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Ms. Davis, could you say your position and your full name?
Kendra Davis, I am the communications coordinator. So I've been here, I started in July, and in the 3 months I've been here, I've learned a lot and worked on various projects and assignments. My goal is to ensure Warrensville City School District is sending out branded, clear communications to our parents and all our other stakeholders. So this evening, I'll talk about a few projects and initiatives and also let you know what's to come. All calls. So for those of you not familiar, our all call system sends immediate or scheduled calls, emails, and text messages to parents and other audiences such as staff. We have more than 2,000 contacts in the all call system, and the system defines contacts as either an email address or a phone number. Each school also has access to the system and can send grade and or school-specific messages and also attendance-related messages to specified parents. I have been tasked with mostly district-wide all calls. So a couple that I've done recently was an invitation to the State of the Schools address, and then also announcement about the PSAT and the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. And following each call, I can assess the analytics of how many people answered those calls and or receive voicemail messages, opted out, and et cetera. Our analytics pretty much trend the same for district-wide calls. So for the State of the Schools call, that was sent on a Monday after 6:00 p.m., and it successfully reached 81% of the contacts. For the call about the testing, that went out 3 separate times, and on the one sent on a Sunday afternoon, it was sent to 8th to 10th grade parents, and it successfully reached 73%. So with access to the analytics, you can kind of see what times work best for calls, how many people are opting out, and things like that. Our website. So the district launched a new website this summer, and the site has a fresh, clean look with easy navigation. Each school has individual school pages that are consistently updated with district news, stories, and calendar events. And what you see on the screen is a screenshot of one of my favorite parts of the website, the district news section. So this section is a good place where we can update with different stories of what's happening district-wide and also at the various schools, because again, this page and this feed here will show on each different school. So that's a screenshot of what's loaded for today. In September, there were 11 stories posted, and then so far this month, there has been 4, and it's one of my top priorities to keep that updated consistently. So for social media, the district has an active Twitter and a Facebook page, and if you can go back to the previous slide, Jonathan. And if you are not following us, there are our usernames for each. I would encourage you all to follow us on our social media pages. And measuring by likes and retweets, our Facebook page is far more popular than our Twitter page. So I'm going to share a number of our Facebook analytics. So starting with page views. So all of the first maybe 6 or so slides are for the last 4 weeks, starting from September 13th through October 10th. So a page view, Facebook defines that as the number of times our profile has been liked, and also this has doubled, I'm sorry, not liked, it has been viewed, and this number has doubled in the past 4 weeks. So the next one is for page likes, and this measures obviously the number of people who like our page. The spike that you see there is from September 22nd, which was the date of homecoming, and I do believe this spike was due to 3 videos that we posted that day, and videos really draw Facebook attention. So for reach, Facebook defines the reach as the number of people who see any of your posts. So you don't have to be, you don't have to follow us or like us to see your post. You can see it if someone shares it or other ways in your newsfeed, or for advertising, different ways. So in the past 4 weeks, we've reached more than 9,000 people, which is a 10% increase over last month. And for post engagement, engagement is defined as the total number of likes, comments, and shares, and we've reached more than 2,500 for this month, and it's actually down a little bit less than 10% from last month. And videos, as I mentioned, videos really do attract Facebook traffic. The video measurement proves this is our biggest opportunity for social media. In the previous slide, I showed you that the increase in likes happened around the time that we posted videos. And back in August, I did a Facebook Live video of the Westwood Grand opening, and that really boosted our analytics. High school is hosting a fundraiser at Chipotle on Tuesday, FYI. So if you go there from 4 to 8 on Tuesday night, they will get half of the proceeds made that night. So you just have to mention Warrensville City School District when you check out, FYI. So this week, I shot a promotional video with the senior class president, and that's scheduled to publish tomorrow on Facebook and then also again on Monday. So Facebook's video analytics track how many people watched any of our videos for more than 3 seconds. And this month, our viewership was down, and I do believe that's due to the 6,000 views that we got from that Westwood Live video. And the top 3 videos for the month were all related to homecoming. There was a video from the pep rally, the band performing at halftime at the game, and also from the tailgate. And the next slide is pretty small, but I'll walk you through it. So this page, Facebook allows you to track your competition. So I have this page up to look at CMSD, Cleveland Heights, our school district, Maple Heights, and then STEAM Academy, Green Inspiration, and then also Garfield Heights. So CMSD has 6 times more Facebook likers than we do. However, this week, we've posted just as much content. They've posted 23 posts, and we've posted 19. So we're posting just as much as CMSD is. And their engagement level score is about 500 more than ours, but again, they have far more followers, so we are pretty much aligned with how their likes and engagement is on Facebook. Cleveland, in my opinion, Cleveland Heights does a good job with their content. They have even more engagement than CMSD does, and we've posted more times than Cleveland Heights this week. And both CMSD and Cleveland Heights have slightly increased their likes this week. Ours has maintained. And for the other comparison schools, their posting engagements are all have a score that are less than 5. So we're doing better than those districts as well. So a few upcoming projects that we're working on. The Rural Report, you can expect those to be delivered to homes November 15th. Our Tri-Heights Fire Tech program is a very special and a unique program that we have in our community. So I started pitching that to media this week, and I'm going to continue that next week. So hopefully we get some media attention around that. October is National Bullying Prevention Month, and next week I'll be posting content on the web and social media about our anonymous alerts. And also, I understand that Westwood is doing some pretty neat things around bullying, so I'm going to try to figure out what that is and get that posted as well. And also, we're continuously making updates and ensuring our site is up to date and user-friendly. And lastly, I'll make sure the board policy about staff communication goes out, and then we also are doing an internal email signature so that every staff person in the district has a consistent email signature when they're communicating with external and internal constituents. So that's it.
Board members, do you have any questions for Ms. Davis?
I wanted to add another event that the senior citizen visits to our schools, which will be on November 2nd, which will take a bus to the Civic Center, and then we're going to take anybody who signs up on a tour of the district. So that's something else the communications department is putting together.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I'd like to commend you for the greater presence that we're seeing in social media. I do somewhat tweet. And I know when we were at the State of the Schools address, I'm sitting there and my phone was just lighting up, and it's because she was tweeting out as Mr. Jolly was doing his presentation. So I want to commend you for that, because we are seeing a much greater presence on social media. And just for communications piece, if you're interested in following the band, Mr. Keaton is out there also on Instagram. I don't think we do Instagram, yeah. As well as Mrs. Farmer. They put a lot of information, and so does Coach Swift. And then as far as school districts, I will say this. When we went to Capitol Conference a couple of years ago, there was a presentation done by Berea City Schools, and they do a lot with social media. So just for your own knowledge, you might want to just take a look at it. Yeah, take a look and see some of the things that they're doing. In my opinion, they do a good job.
And I actually went to a conference from the OSBA last week about communications, and one audience that I never really thought about engaging on social media was the students, and they had some pretty good tips on how we can do that with students. So once I can get some other priorities out the way, that's something I might be looking into doing as well.
And finally, I want to commend you guys for having a student to do the robocall today. I got that phone call, so it was the class president, I think. I thought that was pretty neat, so good job, guys. Thank you.
Board members, do you have any questions for Ms. Davis about the communication and what she's doing?
I think you're doing a good job. Thank you. Best I've seen in years.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Ms. Davis. Thanks for presenting that to us.
I know you're shaking your head because I'll never hardly say
That's good. No, I just wanted.
We gotta write that down. What's today's date?
Let's take that date down.
Writing that down.
That's where the greatest.
Next on our board
I
agenda.
always say stuff positive. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Let's document this day.
Yeah, let's not mess it up. 4.3 is public participation. If you have something to say or address this board, just please fill out a card, give it to our treasurer, Dr. Rock. And Dr. Rock, do we have any cards today?
Yes, Mrs. Ridgway?
Come on down, Miss Ridgway. Good to see you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing today? I'm
Say your
Felicia
name and
Ridgway.
address, please.
Felicia Ridgway, 19708 Kings Highway.
All right.
Missed a few meetings. I'm trying to get caught up. Mr. Jolly, I want to thank you. Long time coming for letting me work with your staff to get the bullying anonymous alert going. You know, I never thought about it. I'm like, yeah, they finally got it going. And then your staff come to me. Ms. Rudolph, I want to thank her. Mr. Free, Miss Moonman, and Miss Elba. They was like, Miss Ridgway, you did it. And I never thought about it. What did I do? And I, you know, and then after a while, I kept seeing it because y'all kept telling me, you did it. I got the anonymous alert going for Warrensville District, you know, and Miss Hunt and Miss Lockett, you know, and they finally got it going. When school first started, they got the flyers out. I'm impatient. I asked God to give me patience like Job. And he's still working on me. Thank you, Mr. Jolly. Y'all got we got the flyers out. Now I'm working with the senator. I've been reaching out to her. I don't have no, I got to keep asking. I've talked to her staff about the bullying. They're trying to get a third misdemeanor for the children for this bullying because a lot of kids have killed themselves, you know. And when I talk to the news channels, they say it's a touchy subject. Yeah, but our children are killing themselves. How could that be a touchy subject when a mother come home and her child is dead and the claws done hung themselves? So I'm gonna still speak about it. I want to thank y'all again. Now I'm working on with Cleveland Heights. I go over there and volunteer also still. I still have a family in the district. Now, Cleveland Heights, they had the flyers, not so much flyers, the brochures about rape abuse, rape crisis, and sex. So I've been working with them. Could you let Mr. Reynolds know? Job well done. You know, what he's doing, he reminded me of Mr. Fred Thomas. No nonsense at the high school. And Ms. Rudolph, she's not here. I want to thank her too, because she really helped me, got the flyers going for the children, for the bullying. And this teen and children sex trafficking, human trafficking, that bothers me. Because a lot, just like my child, and let me know that they were bullying her. It's children, maybe my child, not saying she had got raped before. I don't know. She didn't tell me about the bullying, but there's children out here. I have friends that's been raped, and they never told nobody. So I'm working on that with the senator next. Right now I'm working with her on the bullying still, because she's trying to get that law passed, and a lot of parents come up to her, you mean you're trying to have our children locked up? You know what she said? Well, if your children are not doing the bullying, you have nothing to worry about, because we have children killing themselves every day because of the bullies, you know? So, Job, I'm glad, Mr. Jolly, you let me work with your staff, you know, so thank you, and I look forward to meeting you because we have some unfinished business. And one more thing, could you let the mayor know I'm still waiting? I got patience. And Congresswoman Fudge, let her know I'm still waiting, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you all
Thank
so
you
much.
for your support, Ms. Ridgway.
All right,
I
God
appreciate you.
bless, in the name of Jesus.
Next on our board agenda is unfinished business. Board, I didn't see any. Do we have any unfinished business?
We got two things. Whatever happened with the parent involvement specialist with the hours?
I have not bought the recommendation yet.
I'm sorry, what was that comment?
The parent
The
involvement
hours?
specialist with the hours?
Yeah, I have not completed the research on that yet.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I have not completed it.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing, Mr. Green. I attended the Parent Volunteer and the Recognition and the Northeast Regional Conference. We were actually, as a district, recognized there. I had no idea when I got there, but I do actually have the certificate. They're actually in my car for being the first time ever us being allowed to participate in a student achievement affair. So I have those two certificates in the car for those two teachers. I am going to need sometime between now and our next meeting, not our next meeting, but my next meeting with the region. The students that attend will also get certificates when they
Go
attend
down.
Columbus, in Columbus on that particular day. I am going to forward to the board. There are going to be a lot of changes coming down. Ms. Ridgway was talking about the students. They're going to possibly, right now it's in legislation, to charging parents. Parents will be charged for students bullying. I am going to forward that on to you all. There's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be coming down, so that will be given out as well.
All right,
But
thank
it
you.
was a nice ceremony.
Good. I'm glad you represented our district. Board, we will have an update of the CUBE conference. If you can, I just need to gather 2 takeaways that you got from the conference last week. Our whole board was down at the National School Board Association Council of Urban Boards of Education, and we spent, I think it was pretty good, 4 days. So we'll talk about it on the 26th if all board members are okay with that, and just give a little bit, take away what you got from that conference. I mean, for me, it was good to have you guys support me as my first time being an actual CUBE member, so I appreciate all of y'all. Next on our board agenda is actually, do we have any correspondence, Dr. Rob?
No, sir.
No, okay. I do have a couple announcements. Tomorrow is a big day for our senior, the band, the Golden Motion dancers, the football team, the cheerleaders. It's senior day tomorrow for the Warrensville Heights City School Districts. And those seniors at halftime will be announced, and they will have their parents with them tomorrow in the field. We play Cleveland Heights at 7. So if everybody can attend, it'll be a great day. I know when I was here and I came out with my dad, man, that was good. So, yeah, it's a big day tomorrow to come out and support those scholars with their parents. So that's tomorrow at 7 o'clock against Cleveland Heights. The senior class, like Ms. Davis said, is having their Chipotle night. Chipotle, I keep calling it Chipotle. Chipotle night. That's October 17th from 4 to 8. You have to, when you purchase, tell them you're there for the Warrensville Heights City Schools, and half of those proceeds from 4 to 8 will go to our senior class, the 2018 class. So if you can support them. Also, on October 23rd, College Now here at Warrensville will be at the library, the Warrensville Heights Library, October 23rd at 6 p.m. for the parents, and if you have any seniors or any juniors, you can come to the library, and they're going to go over financial aid and just give you some information about college aid, and that's October 23rd. The girls volleyball team will have a game, well, they're actually in a tournament Tuesday at Elyria at 4:30. They play in a triad volleyball match, and that's in Elyria, and that's October 13th. Is there any other announcements, board, that you?
There's one thing I want to add. I just, in case people didn't know, in the community day yesterday, our 8th, 9th, and 10th grade students took the PSAT, and all of our 11th and 12th graders took college visits. So we went to 6 different universities. Every 11th and 12th grader got to visit a college. So I just wanted to put that so the community know that that was the first time that we required every 11th and 12th grader to go college visits. But all of them went yesterday. They self-selected on what college they wanted to go to. Ashland, Notre Dame, Cleveland State, I believe.
Central State and Wilberforce.
No.
They didn't go there?
I know.
Oh, those.
Wasn't it Central State?
No, so today, the middle school went to Central State and Wilberforce.
Okay.
So we are exposing our students to college, but that PSAT was very important so that we get that start on it and getting them prepared for testing. So we tested every 8th, 9th, and 10th grader. It wasn't self-selected. Everybody had to take the test, and we'll continue that practice from now on.
Thank you, Superintendent. At this time, is there any more board business before I ask for a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry. Mr. Ivory?
Just a question. I didn't know if the DC trip
No, it's not on this agenda. Is that in November?
It's on the 26th agenda. It's good. It's on the agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Jolly will make sure.
It's for middle and high, correct? Yeah. Yeah,
Would you want to just say a little bit about that, real quick?
Yeah, I can do this real
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always a privilege and honor to address this board. We are taking, from this district, we're going to take 16. We're going to take 8 high school students and 8 middle school students to Howard University, our annual fall tour, and to the nation's capital, where we will do the Capitol tour, meet with the Congresswoman, if her schedule permits. I spoke to her chief of staff today, and then just our DC trip. So that is, we'll be leaving on the 15th at 7
November?
p.m. from here, November,
Okay.
and returning Saturday. So it'll be Howard University on Thursday, Friday, the Capitol. And I think one thing I wanted to point out about the Howard trip, it is also the 17th is Founders Day for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Omega,
Our students
all
will
right.
have an opportunity to witness, some great information, as there'll be a lot of activity on campus that day. So I look forward to coming back when it's on the agenda and answer any questions. Just another brief announcement is that this coming Monday, and you all are invited, we are going to see the Marshall movie, which it will not be at Tower City. It was changed actually today. It will be at Shaker Square.
Okay.
And we're taking, I think, from Warrensville, 75 students.
Wow.
Yeah, 75 students to see
Really good.
Marshall.
Yeah, that's really good.
And out of the 4 districts, so I think we'll have some 150 students total. And it's free for chaperones. So our program is covering students, but chaperones are allowed. And my mindset always is to have some kind of discussion, especially historical movies like that. We went to see Jesse Owens' movie, Selma, Hidden Figures, all the movies that have academic and cultural value and impact. We want to have some dialogue with those that have information, maybe from a historical standpoint, about a movie like Marshall, that you can engage the students with some dialogue prior to the movie, and then hopefully it can transcend back into the classroom.
Well, we thank you, Mr. Iver.
Thank you.
At this time, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Ms. Gator, second by Vice President Mitchell. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba, Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
We are adjourned.